Rebecca Miano, firstly, let me congratulate you today on this sort of very iconic moment. I was looking through KenGen's history. Is it 1954?
1954 it is.
And the first female MD and CEO. It was a big, big moment. I think in football I would call it like coming out in the stadium and you got the crowd there. And how did it feel?
It's very exciting, Ali, the support.
Yes.
And even the fact that investors and the country and the environment is ready to have women as leaders, especially if they have the right qualifications and they can make a difference. I think it was that moment in life where you feel, yes, you have demystified the myth. Yes.
So it was a real pleasure for me as well to see that moment live. So congratulations. And secondly, just let me address one other thing. Very good shout out to your predecessors who were in the room, Eddie Chirogi and Albert Mugo, and I thought that was a really nice gesture. There are not many corporates, Rebecca, where you find, you know, the previous CEOs coming back, and I think that speaks to a family or collegiate atmosphere at KenGen, which I think is really powerful.
Yes, that's also our strong point. The mentoring and coaching part of it, where those who are older, those who are more experienced, then take the hands of their colleagues and ensure they raise them up. And I think I am a product of that. Yes.
It was good to see. Really.
It was good to see them. Yeah. Yes.
Rebecca, you know, you were coming into these results with the share price up about 50% this year, one of the best performing stocks in Kenya. I was looking at performances around the world, and there's a company called Netflix, which is one of these very exciting companies, and I saw 64%, then I saw 50%, and so you're really ranking in the top percentile in the world at the moment. So it was quite a tough set of results to match the performance. Can I just touch on a couple of points on the results?
Yes, Ali.
First of all, congratulations on your profit after tax, 34% in a tough market where you're speaking about. But can I just touch on revenue? Rebecca was down a little bit. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what happened there?
I think there were two main reasons why revenue was down. And one of them is the drought. You have seen we've had very severe drought, and I think 3 seasons following each other. And Masinga and our dams are experiencing the lowest levels in history. So you have seen decreased hydro generation because of that. Then on the geothermal, we had evacuation constraints where we could not evacuate power down to the coast, but the transmission line, we thank God, now has been commissioned. But the lack of evacuation capacity also affected our geothermal dispatch. And we also had some rehabilitation of some of the geothermal plants. So that is what caused that.
Taking all of that together.
Yes. Then we decommissioned 2 thermal plants at Garissa and Lamu. So that affected our revenue.
What struck me is, you know, since I was a young boy, whenever we had drought, we didn't have power in Kenya. And this time, what was interesting to me, we've had our worst drought, or one of the worst, and yet your power has been very consistent. And I saw that in a chart that you put up there, which is a reducing reliance on hydrology, increasing reliance on geothermal. Has this sort of green geothermal trend made you a more resilient company in these environments of global warming and this type of weather we're seeing?
It surely has. If you compare this year to 2009, when we had the other significant drought, if you recall, we had load shedding. In some instances, customers were getting only 3 hours of power. We had emergency power, and bills were so high. This year, I think consumers can even forget that we have a drought because the green energy, the geothermal especially, has paid off, and many people have not noticed the very, very difficult hydrology that we have gone through this year.
Yeah, no one is.
So yes, it is a major achievement, not only for KenGen, but for this country. Yeah.
Let me touch on what obviously came up a lot, the dividend pass that we've had this year. John made a very interesting presentation about why. Would you just tell us in your own words? I mean, you know, when people have had a 50% return or price appreciation on a share price, the dividend is by the by, in my view. But can you just tell us, because here in Kenya, I find people do look at that quite strongly.
First, Ali, would like to appreciate our investors because of the patience they've had with us last year and this year with no dividend. But they have continued to show a lot of confidence in the trading. And that's why we have a very good growth, like you have said, of 50% on the share, especially after the rights issue. But besides that, you have seen in our plan the heavily capital intensive growth trajectory, and we have proposed to concentrate on that, invest back the money and be able to deliver on those projects. It's better to do that than just give a 20 cents, then affect the capital projects. So we think in the long run, it will be valuable for our investors when we reap the benefits of the investment we are doing now.
The compounding effect.
The compounding effect, yes.
Rebecca, you know, there was quite a big movement also in other income in the line of, you know, it was considerably less. I think John was speaking about, was it drilling income that was down, or I can't remember exactly what led to that big adjustment.
In the previous year, KenGen had a contract to drill for one of the investors, and so we had income from drilling activities.
That's
but
for a
this
third
year,
party?
Yes, for a third party. But this year we didn't have such a contract, and that's why you see the decrease in other income.
Okay.
Yeah, we hope in future, when we have the new company, the KenGen C, we'll still have more opportunities to drill for other people that require that service.
There was a technical point in last year's results where there was a compensating tax issue.
Yes.
Would you just tell us a little bit about what that is all about, and would that have been a problem again this year if you had paid a dividend?
Yes, as you're aware, when we pay dividend, it attracts about 42% in compensating tax, and that is payable to KRA.
Yes.
A lot of effort has been put by the board and KenGen to try and resolve that with the relevant authorities, and that has not been finalized. So had we paid dividend, we would still have gotten into the same situation. We would have been required to pay compensating tax to the tune of about 42%.
Yes, so it would have been too penal to have made that payment.
Yes, yes, and I think it will be good when the issue is finally resolved and a way forward is arrived at before we move forward. Yes.
And Rebecca, are you happy with the profile of the operating expenses? I saw year on year it was up 8%. Pretty well managed given the context of where the business is. How would you characterize the expense side of the balance sheet? As you expand, are we going to see a compensating increase in expenses, or are we like kind of now fully loaded and it feeds more into the bottom line?
The operating expenses, of course, comprise of employee expenses, operations and maintenance. And the 8% was mainly driven by the continued investment in the power capacity expansion. However, in our strategy, especially in strengthening our organization, we also have strategies in place to try and improve operating costs and have cost containment. And we believe going forward, we may be able at least to contain that so that it doesn't skyrocket. And I think we are going to see modest operating costs. And we have seen determination from our staff to address that particular issue. And we are receiving quite a lot of institutional ideas very exciting.
From within
and
the organization.
From within the organization, and everybody ready to contribute towards that. Yeah.
I noticed that you've got a very strong sense of empowerment amongst your employees, that they feel able to make those sorts of suggestions. And well done on that.
Thank you, Ali. Yeah.
Now, I just wanted to finish off, Rebecca, with, you know, these big headline numbers were great numbers, 34%. Earnings per share was up dramatically. Impressive alpha earnings, I call them. And you've set the bar very high. And when I look at the company, would you describe it now still in this high growth phase, or is it more of a mature company now? How would you, when you're looking at the business and looking out there, are you in a go-go growth mode, or are you sweating the assets? What do you do, or is it both?
We are strongly pushing forward our good to great strategy, and I think it has proven to be a very good strategy. But having said that, I think we are in a growth mode, and what we presented there as our growth strategy, we anticipate to add to the grid about 720 megawatts by 2020, and that will really increase our capacity. And so yes, we are on a growth mode, yes.
And finally, when I was listening to the presentation, there was, you know, you've been a pioneer in the bond market. You have the first one to bring infrastructure bond, did the biggest rights issue that the Nairobi Securities Exchange has ever seen, successfully done. So you've been at this, what I would call the cutting edge of our capital markets. You know, quite often it's been what you've done that's taken us to the next step. I was listening to what you're trying to do with the African Development Bank, the World Bank. Now, obviously, you're a green company, right? I mean, you're incredibly now biased towards renewables. Are you going to be the first people to do a green bond, Rebecca?
I'm certain that we'll be the first people to do a green bond. We have started the process, and with assistance by Africa Development Bank, we have a transaction advisory team in place, and that work is going on, and also with the CMA and NSC regulations. Well, we believe that in the near future, the transaction advisory team will bring proposals that will enable us to implement and be the first in that green bond space. Yes, we continue to be fast in many things, and this one I am certain and optimistic that we shall be. Yes.
Rebecca, Miano, very proud of what you did today. Looking forward to the next few years, and congratulations.
Thank you, Ali.
And really appreciated it, and well done. These numbers speak for themselves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.